Hey everybody, Ray here, and in this video I want to showcase another great starter build for Last Epoch 1.1, Blast Rain Marksman. The build is swift, flashy, and very easy to play, in both starter version and when you will transition to the endgame. It also provides smooth leveling experience, since all required skills are available early on and you don't need to repick a lot of stuff while you're progressing. I'm going to showcase all information that you will need in step-by-step way in this video. Let's go! So to get to the skills that we are going to finally use, such as Explosive Trap and Detonating Arrow, we will need to at least get our Ascendancy as Marksman for Detonating Arrow, and we will need to put 5 points into Falcon Arrow to get Explosive Trap. So early on we need to use different skills. I definitely recommend to start with Shurikens, so just use them as area attack, and Flurry for single target. So early on, after you get the Puncture, I recommend to use the Puncture because that's a great skill, especially for single target. Bleed is going to do a lot of damage early on, so just going for Perforate and a few points to Bloodthirst is pretty much a great idea. After that, 1 point to Timing and 3 points to Rapid Strikes will help you to apply a lot of bleed with your punctures. After that, you can just safely use the puncture, at least up to level 30, or maybe even closer to 50, depends on your gear and setup, before you will be able to get all your additional abilities such as Detonating Arrow and a Trap, which will help you to create a proper build. While you're using Puncture, just make sure that you're keeping your distance and using it to snipe down the enemies from there, because that way it will be much safer for you to stay alive and avoid dying. Even early in the game, you can see you can still keep the distance. So talking about our skills, the most important skill that we need is Detonating Arrow, and we're going to use it as fast as we will get it. After that, it's pretty important to go for Mana Arrow, because no mana cost is a huge bonus that will help us with mana management. Just go and Shock Arrow on top of that Navigator Shot and Mana Arrow as fast as possible. After that, we need to get Sucker Punch Arrow and go for Frost Fang, because that way it will be easier to boost our damage once that damage will move from lightning to cold conversion. So Beast Slayer arrows are pretty much a cool bonus, we're going through arrow delay and then Frost Fang. After that we can get Copper Dust Arrow, which is great to lower elemental resistances of enemies. And after you finish the lower part of the tree, you can go up and take Weak Spot the last out of all passives for Detonating Arrow. After that we are getting Explosive Trap, because those combination, Explosive Trap and Detonating Arrow, is the bread and butter of the build. So here, we're just going to the right to get Blast Rain as fast as possible. We are taking Minefield, then taking Gelcor's Blueprint, on top of that Subtle Sabotage, 2 points to Cluster Explosives, and we are taking Blast Rain. That's a pretty important part, because Blast Rain is necessary for build to feel great. After that, we can go to the left and get Arrow Traps. So just 1 point here and 1 here is going to give us Arrow Traps and help us with shaping the build. That way, every time when we are using the trap, we are going to shoot Detonating Arrows, which is pretty amazing, to be honest. After that, I recommend to go for Static Mines, Trapas, and Cold Snap Mines, because that will raise the amount of traps we are throwing with just one use of the skill. After that, we'll go for Blasting Device, which is nice, but definitely not necessary before like level 50, 60 or something close to that. And the last part, we are taking Trap Sprinkle and Trap Shot. Both of them are pretty good passives, and I honestly prefer Trap Shot because I think that way traps are clearing a little better. I think it's pretty much worth 1 point. However, if you don't think so, you can drop that point and bring it back to Trap Sprinkle, because it's a pretty much decent choice as well. In the Shift ability, which is our primary movement ability, we just need to use Shurikens, because Shurikens are going to provide us with armor. That way we are taking Efficiency at the start, together with Shadow Recuperation, more swift recovery, because we honestly really need mana gained on use at the start. Shadow Sleep is pretty important to dodge bad abilities like lag-on abilities, for example, so take it as fast as possible. After that, we just need 5 points to Sleight of Hand to get Shurikens, and the last part for shit, we're just going to the left to get Cleanse. Cleanse is important, but mostly in Monolith already, because while you're leveling, it's not that important to pretty much clean everything. You can even try to use different ways to cleanse ailments, such as poison, for example with potions and belts. Moving forward, the Smoke Bomb is a very important ability because it's going to provide us with a lot of survivability. We are taking duration because, well, more duration is always better for skills that have cooldown. On top of that, we are taking Shadow Hunter because blind is always good for the build. Base crit chance is nice, but not too necessary. On top of that, generosity is pretty great because more area will help us to always stay in the shadows of the Shadow Bomb. After that, we can go for Enfeeblement, which is nice, and get Moonlight Bomb to stack Silver Shrouds that way, which is, well, pretty nice as well. Rapid Concealment, in my opinion, is recommended because Dusk Shroud is a great way to boost your survivability as well by raising your glancing blow chance. On top of that, Shrouded and Darkness will provide us with decent stats too, and 1.2 Impending Gloom is nice as well, because that way our cloud is going to spread much faster. We're also taking Cleanse, because if we do not have Cleanse from Shift, we can use it from there. And the last part is Shurikens. In Shurikens it's pretty simple, we just need to go to the right, because we are going to have Shurikens around us for some time, and we need to boost our survivability that way. So 3 points to Alacrities and Funnel Blades, Blade Shield, and after that we can just get Bladed Armor and Floating Blades. Get those passives as fast as possible to survive better during the campaign. On top of that, Ethereal Blade is a pretty nice way to make sure your Shurikens are piercing and not really staying in the enemies, which is helping us with survivability again, because we are not losing Shurikens that way. And after all of those are ready, we just need to move to the left, take an Acrobatics and pretty much Blind again, because Blind is pretty great and Shurikens will blind enemies around us. Unfortunately, we don't have enough points, however, if you will have, Stagger is definitely recommended as well. So talking about our passive skills. At the start we're just going for Steady Hand, because both Health and Dexterity is pretty good. We're also taking Evasion and Agility there, because both of them are pretty important. Dodge and Parry is pretty much a great way to boost survivability, however I recommend to take it only after level 40 or something close to that. After that in Falconer we could just take Wilderness Scout as fast as possible, because we need 5 points to get Explosive Trap as fast as possible. On top of that we are taking Outliner Tenacity to get to the Stamina of the Rover. That way we are getting much more mana regeneration, which is pretty much will help us with mana management. At Marksman, we're pretty much taking Draining Arrows at the start together with Focus Fire, and I think Missile Mastery is a great way to boost your DPS early on. 5 points to the Assassin's Spear is helpful as well. After that we're just moving to the right, taking all passives right there, and finishing at Barrage of Pain. In the starter we can go for Perfect Aim, so we'll just leave it for later on. However, when you will level up further, it's recommended to take that as well. On top of that, in the Blade Dancer, we're just taking Cloak of Shadows. Perfectly, we need 8 points there, however for a starter, I don't really think it's necessary to get more than 3. So just get those points here, because it will help you with both damage through Dexterity and survivability through Glancing Blow chance. Talking about what to roll on the items. To be honest, the build is very mana hungry, so it's very important to roll mana regeneration everywhere where it's possible for a smooth experience. Try to roll it at least on both rings, and perfectly on Amulet as well, because that's going to heavily help you to spam your skill without any issues. On top of that, dexterity is a great stat which is going to buff our damage, so try to get it on all items where it's possible. You can also roll your bow for any kind of elemental damage such as cold bow damage or fire or lightning bow damage. Any kind of elemental bow damage is definitely recommended as well because most of the damage that we are doing is pretty much elemental. I also recommend to get movement speed on the boots as fast as possible because you're going to run much faster that way. And health together with endurance is always recommended as well, because that's going to help you survive better. So right now, Blast Rain Marksman is a pretty much stable starter that will be able to provide decent results both in early game and in the end game as well. I can definitely recommend to play that, and I hope it's going to work great for you at the cycle start. Thank you very much for watching and see you next time.